La Mano Peluda, or the Hairy Hand. It has been on the air for over 20 years, and it used to broadcast after midnight. Every night, real people call into the show and share scary stories that have happened to them or supernatural events that they have experienced. I used to listen to the show every night after I went to bed. My parents didn't like me listening to it, but I turned the radio down low so they couldn't hear. A few years ago, I heard one story that chilled me to the bone. A lady called in and said her son was trying to kill her. Here is a transcript of the recording. Caller: Senor Carlos, help me! Please help me! My son wants to kill me! Host: Let's see. Calm down, Senora. Tell me what happened. For 7 months now, my son has been playing the Ouija board at night. I did not take it seriously, but now he speaks in another language and says strange words. He says that he wants to kill me and his brothers. He is very strong, much stronger than any normal 13-year-old boy. He tried to kill the dog with a knife, and today, no, please don't, no. Senora, what happened? Tell me, Senora, are you still on the line? Help me, please. My son is levitating in his bed. My God, he's floating. Help me, please. His eyes are all white and he has a knife. Madre de Dios, what do you want? Leave my son alone. Oh God, Senor Carlos, someone help me. At this point in the recording, screaming and crying are heard in the background, and all of a sudden, the call is cut off. For the next 3 days, the host of the radio show kept playing the recording over and over, asking for the lady to call in again. He also asked the public to identify her so that they could try and get her some help. Eventually, a young man called into the show and said he had some information. Here is a transcript of the recording. Caller: I have information about the lady you are looking for, Senor Carlos, but it is better that you stop playing with what you don't understand. Look no more into it. He is strong. He can kill you. Just walk away. Announcer: What are you talking about? What is your name? Tell me. I am just telling you to be careful. I told you to leave it alone, you idiot. Please don't do anything. Just listen carefully to the recording. Listen. At that point, the call was cut off. The next day, the host of the radio show had some specialists on, and they analyzed the first recording of the lady who called in. Using various techniques, they were able to isolate and enhance the screams and cries at the end of the recording. At first, it sounded like there were several people screaming and crying at once, but when they played one of the isolated voices, I swear to you, it chilled me to the bone. The voice was just an echo, but it said, I'll kill you, I'll kill everyone, and if you're still asking for help, I'll kill them too. Nobody will help you. It was horrible. Weeks later, another man called into the radio show. He was very frightened, but he said he was willing to tell the host what had happened during the recording. Look, Senor Carlos, I'll tell you about the day that lady called in. Her name is Senora Julia, and she's the caretaker of a building in an area south of the city of Mexico. Late one night, I, and 10 other residents in the building heard anguished cries. They were coming from the home of Senora Julia. We all rushed out onto our balconies, which faced towards the courtyard where her home is. We heard her screaming, and several men, included myself, went down to her house to find out what was happening. We forced the door open and saw her with the telephone to her ear, asking someone for help. That someone we later learned was you. Just then, we heard screaming and crying throughout the building. It was so strong it stunned us for a moment. Sonora Julia hung up the phone and ran to us, pleading with us for help. When we asked why, she said there was something wrong with her boy. Seriously, Senor, I have never seen anything like it before or since. We were all petrified with fear. We saw her eldest son, and I don't know if you can believe this, but he was floating. He was about 3 feet off the air. His eyes were blank, and he had an evil smile on his face. I did not know how to describe it. He was smiling from ear to ear, and it was a diabolical smile. In his hand, he was holding a large knife, and it was dripping with blood. The neighbors didn't know what to do. We asked the lady what was happening, and she just said that he wanted to kill everyone. We ran out of the house and into the courtyard, but the boy followed us. He was in the middle of a courtyard, floating in the air and babbling in a strange language. All of the neighbors saw it. Some began to shout and others began to pray. One man tried to stop the boy by pulling on his foot. We helped him wrestle the boy to the ground. He was passed out and his eyes were rolling back in his head, but he would not let go of the knife. We did the only thing we could think of, Senor. We called a priest. At that point, the recording cut off. The host of the radio show said he had tried to communicate with the lady and the man, but because neither of them had given their names, all of his attempts were unsuccessful. They spent months analyzing the previous recordings, but specialists said that the only young man must be possessed by a strong demonic spirit, and without more information, there was nothing they could do. According to the host, the radio show had to change its schedule because of the call. Afterwards, staff claimed they heard whispering voices, cries, and moans in the building after midnight. On more than one occasion, the member of a radio show's staff was thrown against a wall or beaten savagely by someone or something that was not physically there. One audio technician was seriously injured in a car accident, which he said was caused when the ghostly face of a young boy appeared on the windscreen as he was driving. The staff of the radio show was so afraid that they complained to the producers and threatened to quit. The producers were forced to reschedule the show so that it started at 10 p.m. and finished just before midnight.